Hello friends, today I am going to explain boiler efficiency. This is from the book Energy Efficiency in Thermal Utilities. Now there are two methods to calculate boiler efficiency. One is direct method and the second one is indirect method. In direct method, it's basically the energy gain of working fluid is compared with the energy content of the boiler fuel. And in the indirect method, it is also called as loss method, where the efficiency is difference between the losses and the energy input. Now, first we will explain direct method. This is also known as input-output method due to the fact that it needs only the useful output, that is the steam and heat input for evaluating the efficiency. Now, here is the formula. It's basically heat output divided by heat input. Now, what's the heat output? Heat output is basically the heat gained by the water, and the heat input is the heat content of the fuel. To calculate the heat output, we need to know what was the feed temperature of water, then what was the steam pressure in the boiler, and what is the flow rate of steam. Now here these two figures, Hg is the enthalpy of steam and HF is enthalpy of feed water, and the difference of these two enthalpies is the heat gain of the fluid or water, and this is the flow rate of steam. Multiplying these values we get the output heat, and to calculate the input heat we need to know the GCV, gross calorific value of fuel, and the quantity of fuel used in 1 hour. So we'll get the heat input, and the ratio of these values is basically the efficiency, and this is very easy to calculate efficiency with direct method. Let's see an example. Here these are the parameters that we already have: the steam generated, ATPH, then pressure, quantity of coal consumed, feed water temperature is also there, the GCV of coal is there, enthalpy of saturated steam is given, enthalpy of feed water is given. Now see, this is the enthalpy of steam and this is the enthalpy of feed water, and this is the flow rate of steam. From here we are calculating the heat output, and GCV multiplied by fuel ratio per hour. Here we are getting the heat input. So dividing the both, we are getting 80% of efficiency on GCV basis, because we have considered GCV of the coal. Evaporation is also another term, that is basically the quantity of steam generated kg per hour divided by the quantity of fuel consumed, it's also kg per hour. So here we are getting 4.4 kg of steam per kg of fuel, we can say that. So now let's see the second method. These are the advantages of a direct method. It's very easy to calculate efficiency by direct method with the plant people, because it requires less parameters for computation. Now in the second case, the indirect method, it's also called as a heat loss method. It's called heat loss method because the efficiency is arrived by subtracting all the heat losses from 100. 100 means we are assuming that the heat input is 100%, and we are subtracting various losses from this figure to achieve the actual efficiency, to calculate the actual efficiency. Now here is the detailed example given. These are the parameters that we have given to calculate the efficiency. This boiler capacity is given 20 TPH, steam pressure is given, flue gas analysis is also given, O2 in flue gas is given to calculate the excess air. Then carbon monoxide is given, carbon dioxide is given, flue gas temperature is given. Similarly, this is the ambient temperature of flue gas. Humidity values are also given. Along with ambient temperature, humidity in ambient air is also given. Fuel analysis is given. This is very much required to calculate efficiency using indirect method. Then ash analysis is also given. Then after ash analysis, the GCV of bottom ash as well as fly ash is also given, whereas the quantity of unburns in bottom ash as well as fly ash is also given. Now let's start for the solution. So to calculate the boiler efficiency by indirect method, we need to first of all find out theoretical air requirements. Theoretical air requirement is basically the minimum air that is required for 100% combustion of fuel. So the formula for this is given. This we need to memorize because this is very important formula. This formula you can also derive. For example, here we know that to burn 1 kg of fuel, we need to have 2.67 kg of air. So that you can basically try. Sorry, it's not air but it's oxygen. 2.67 kg of oxygen is required to burn 1 kg of coal. And to get 2.67 kg of oxygen, we need to have 11.6 kg of air. So this is how this have been derived. Similarly, these all formulas can be derived on. Now we need to fill out only the values of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen as well as sulfur to get the theoretical air requirements. So filling up all the values, we are getting 7 kg of air is required per kg of coal. This is theoretical air. Basically, it is not possible to burn 100% of fuel with theoretical air due to improper mixtures, because it is not possible to mix 100% uniform mixture of fuel and air. So this means we need to have some excess air to achieve the uh, perfect combustion. So now that excess air should be controlled. Basically, in case of furnace oil, it should not be more than 2 to 3%. However, if it is more than 2 to 3%, this means the losses will be there in the flue gas, and the flue gas is basically the major cause of losses. Now here we have given that oxygen in flue gas is 9%, and to calculate the excess air quantity, the formula is value of oxygen in flue gas divided by 21 minus O2 value in flue gas. And from here we are getting that 75% of excess air is there. So now we know that the actual air requirements were 7 kg, but as there is excess air, 75% of excess is there, so the total amount of air that supplied is 7 multiplied by 1.75, that is 12.3 kg of air we are getting for 1 kg of fuel. So next is to find the actual mass of dry flue gas. This dry flue gas basically includes carbon dioxide that we are getting from burning of carbon, then mass of nitrogen content in fuel, and mass of nitrogen in combustion air supplied. Then mass of oxygen in flue gas. This oxygen is basically the oxygen that is in the excess air. And the last one is the mass of sulfur dioxide. Here we are not considering the water produced with the combustion of hydrogen, because that we will calculate as a separate loss. This is basically mass of dry flue gas. That's why all these gases are included in this. So for these calculations, we are putting up the values of, for example, carbon here. This is nitrogen. Here we can see that 1 kg of carbon, when burn 1 kg of carbon, it produces 44 kg of carbon dioxide. So if we burn 0.5365% kg of carbon, then we are going to get this value of carbon dioxide. Similarly, nitrogen we are not burning, but it is going as it is. So this value is as it is. Similarly, the air that we have supplied, 12.3 kg per kg of fuel, that has 77% of nitrogen. So this is the amount of nitrogen that is there. Now this is basically the oxygen in excess here. 7 kg of air we require for perfect combustion. So this means the oxygen that is in the 7 kg is used in the combustion, and the excess air, this is 12.3 minus 7, has the O2 value that will remain in the flue gas. Sorry. And similarly, this is the amount of sulfur dioxide that will be there in flue gas. So calculating all, we are getting 12.7 kg of dry flue gas per kg of coal. We are producing this. Now the next step is to find out all the losses. Now the first loss is heat loss in dry flue gas. This is the major heat loss in the boilers. So here mass of flue gas is taken, then specific heat of flue gas is taken, and the temperature rise. These figures we have already given, that ambient air temperature is 29 degree and the flue gas temperature is 180 degree. Specific heat of flue gas is 0.2 kilocalorie per kg per degree Celsius, and this is the amount of flue gas that we are getting per kg of coal from here, divided by GCV of the fuel. Now this value is coming out to be 10.7%. This means 10.7% of heat input is being wasted in flue gas. Now similarly, now the next heat loss is heat loss due to formation of water. Here you can see there are three losses that are basically due to water. This is due to water formation that is producing due to hydrogen in fuel. This is due to the this is heat loss due to moisture that is present in the fuel, and this is the heat loss due to moisture in air. Now in this case, the calculations are done in this way: 9 into amount of hydrogen that is present in fuel multiplied by 584. This is basically the latent heat that is required to evaporate the water, plus specific heat of steam, and the difference of ambient and the actual temperature that we have already given. This is basically inside the flue gas. The flue gas temperature is 180 degree, ambient air temperature 29, specific heat for this steam is 0.45, and latent heat is 584 kilocalories per kg. Calculating all this divided by this GCV of fuel. Now the calculating this equation, we are getting 4.4% loss due to formation of water in the fuel. Similarly, there is moisture present in the fuel already, which is there in the fuel. So the loss is moisture present, value of moisture multiplied by this same equation 584 plus Cp Tf minus Ta. Calculating this, we are getting 2.2% of loss that is there due to moisture in fuel. And lastly, the loss due to moisture in air. This is actual air supply multiplied by humidity. From here we are getting the moisture contents in air. Here you can see that we are not using 584. This is because the moisture in air is already in evaporated stage, so it do not require any energy to evaporate. So only Cp, specific heat of steam, multiplied by the enthalpy gain is given. So the after putting up the values, we are getting 0.38% loss due to the moisture in the air. So next loss is due to partial conversion of carbon to carbon monoxide. The formula is given here already. Putting the values, we are getting 0.53% of loss due to conversion of carbon into carbon monoxide. Heat loss due to radiations and convection and other unaccounted losses basically have been assumed to be 1%. Normally, these are fixed. Here you can see that if the capacity is 10 megawatt, then these losses are considered as 1 to 2% of the GCV. But if the value of capacity of boilers are 5 megawatt, then these losses are considered to be 0.2 to 1%. So these are basically fixed losses that are normally given in examples. Then the next loss is due to unburnt in fly ash. So here the percentage of ash in coal is given, and the unburnt in fly ash is also given. GCV value of fly ash is given. Now the value of fly ash per kg of coal is calculated from the above values. Just multiply the above values, and the heat loss due to unburnt in fly ash is calculated by just multiplying the GCV of fly ash with the quantity. So 3.59 kilocalorie per kg of coal, we are getting the heat loss. So dividing it with the GCV, we are getting this loss as to be 0.084%. Similarly, the loss due to unburnt in bottom ash is also calculated, and it's coming out to be 0.0042%. Now these all the losses from L1 to L8 are accumulated, and this value is subtracted from 100 to achieve the efficiency of boiler. All these are basically losses. We have subtracted all the losses from the value of all the losses that has been calculated in percentage from 100, and here we are getting that the efficiency is 80.7%. Here in summary, you can see all the values of losses are given, and heat input is given. This 4291 is basically the GCV per kg of coal, so it's a heat input for if 1 kg of coal is burnt, and these are various losses against this heat input. If we consider it as 100%, then the percentage losses are these, and we are getting 80.7% of losses. So this is how we calculate boiler efficiency with the indirect method. And for other chapters, I'll upload my other videos also. Thank you very much. You can contact me for any queries at this address. Thank you.